Hello friends, this is Brent, the EdTech principal from EdTech.tv. Today we are going to talk about aggregating hashtags to get the most from online projects and using hashtags to develop your personal learning network. Now, before you stop the video right away and go, I have no idea, that's crazy talk, I don't know what it means. Let me kind of simplify and explain to myself. So first is just the hashtag, and you can see that little symbol there. It used to be called the pound sign on our phones. Now it's called the hashtag on the internet. The hashtag is used to connect different people, kind of like a link by certain words, keywords, or phrases. So when you're on Twitter, when you're on Instagram, whatever it is, you can click on a hashtagged word. So for example, it might be hashtag water, and you click on it and then you'll see a bunch of other people who are talking about that same subject. And that's the way that you guys can build into projects and make sure that everybody's kind of resourcing everything and aggregating them into the same source. So that's what I'm talking about when I'm saying aggregate hashtags to get the most from online projects. And then using the hashtags to develop your PLN, well, you might be interested in certain things, and a PLN means personal learning network, and for teachers, these are invaluable. So you can start finding out things around certain keywords, for example, EdTech, or if you're a history teacher, history, or geometry, or whatever it is, and you can use these hashtags in order to find things that you are specifically interested in. So, part one is going to be more like something you're going to use for your students, maybe getting them all to put their information together in a common source. And the second one is just going to be a little bit more for you so that you can have access to resources and find out new things that you can bring into the classroom into the future. So, there's a great way that I've found that we can access this all together. So, let's go take a look. There's a great website called Tagboard.com. And what Tagboard does is it pulls together all of the things that people have hashtagged and from all these different common social networks, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, Google+, Vine, etc. And all it does is it brings them all into one source so that you can access them easily. So let's say I'm going to look for the hashtag chili, as I'm kind of thinking about making chili today. And here we go. It's going to start with pulling me up. We can see in this little corner here, this is an Instagram pictures. People are posting pictures of their chili. If I scroll down a little further, maybe I can find some things from Twitter. All sorts of different resources, mostly Twitter and Instagram here. But, if I scroll down and search a little bit further, maybe I'll find something from Google Plus or, all sorts of different resources that make it very easy for me to find, okay, I'm looking for chili, here's my information on chili. Super, super easy to do. So now, of course, with chili, it's not that big of a deal, but you can quickly see how this is going to work with our classrooms and our students. So let's go back to the main page of Tagboard. A couple of years ago, I set up a project for my students to do a photo scavenger hunt, and it was at the time when smartphones were totally in vogue and no problems there, but they didn't quite have a resource that I could get the pictures collected. So I was trying to have them email them to me, or I was putting them into a file or different things like that, and it was really confusing. If I were to do that same project again today, I would just have them, no matter what network they're using, be it Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, I would just say to tag it with something unique that only our classroom would find. So, I might say, there's not going to be anything here, but I might say, for example, I want my students to tag something with EdTech 101, and then I might have the date. So let's say it's January 14, for example. And so that's a really unique tag, and no one else is likely to have it. So they'll say here, no description available, but you'll see that nothing's actually going to show up here. However, if I showed this to my students and gave them that specific tag, then only their posts would be showing up on my tag board. So I could use that for a photo scavenger hunt. I could have that for a login to a class. I say, hey, you guys, you got to Twitter, this tag and say, say that you're here. I could have it for if I wanted them to post a favorite quote from a book that they're reading, if I wanted them to come up with a question and make sure that they're sending it back to me. That could show up in Twitter, it could show up in Instagram, it could show up in Vine. It doesn't matter, because all of those things will aggregate here to my tag board. And that's where it becomes really useful, because the students don't have to go outside of what they're already using, but you can use it to collect the information. Then you can project this information up on your board or share it with your students however you want to after the fact. So let me show you an example here. Someone might type in history teacher, and this one is already a decided tag, so you can see I've got access to thousands of posts here already. I mean, it's just going to go on and on. You can see I've got some from Google Plus, some from Twitter, all different resources that different people from all over are posting. But the more unique the tag, only certain people are going to be posting, and that's how you pull your students into your tag board. Great way to get them working together, great way to get them to share. For some of your students that might be a little bit more reluctant to speak up in class, maybe they'll be able to use this as a way to express themselves or to share what they're thinking without necessarily having to stand up, speak out, and all those other things. As you can see, with a little imagination, you can really use this to bring your students into a kind of virtual classroom setting. But as I said, there's also a place for using this for your own personal learning network. And this is where it gets really cool, because you're going to seem like you have tons of ideas all the time. And, this is kind of your little secret here. So what we're going to do is we're going to build a personal learning network. So what you're going to do is sign in. I'll sign in with Twitter and allow it. And once you're logged in, you can click on menu here and it says create tag board. So I'm going to create a tag board all about EdTech, because that's my favorite topic. And I'll say the tag board description is going to be EdTech info for EdTech enthusiasts. And I'll create the tag board. Now, if I want to, I can add a little avatar here. I can add a cover image, all sorts of things. I can save it. I'm not going to do it right now because that's just kind of extra stuff, and I'll return to the tag board. Now I've got this tag board searching for EdTech, and I can just use this as a way to scroll through and try and find different things that people are posting about. Here's one saying, great free iPad app for creating comic strips, need to learn Spanish. You can learn languages, texting, right? Anyone who's typing or talking about EdTech, now you'll kind of notice here that you'll see these little Twitter icons. Probably more likely that people are talking about EdTech on Twitter than the other networks, but here's Google Plus. Probably not a lot of Instagram, because people don't want to take a picture of EdTech, they want to talk about it. Now, there are a couple of options for you if you're interested, and depending on the different keywords that you're using, some might show up in different networks more often. So if I wanted to only look for Twitter, I could click on Twitter and it would only let me see my Twitter options. Or if I only wanted G+ and Twitter, then I could see that, or whatever it is. It lets me choose what I want to see my options from. That's a nice option, I guess. Not particularly great, but depending on what you're looking for. Now, of course, there's a very real possibility that EdTech is not my only interest. So, of course, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a second tag board. I'm going to call it psychology and call it psych stuff. And I'll create this new tag board as well. It's great. Save it. And now I have a ton of access to all sorts of different things that people are posting about psychology on the internet. It's probably some interesting comics, some tweets, pictures, all sorts of things like that. So I can access this menu anytime. I can go see, my tag boards, EdTech.tv, EdTech, psychology, whatever it is. Really, really great way to aggregate all the information on a certain tag that I'm looking for, either professionally or personally, doesn't really matter. And you can use all of that to build your own information structure, and you can start finding people who are useful and providing interesting information. One thing I will caution you to be careful about is that these are really pulling in from these real networks. So you do have to be careful about the words that you're searching for, and especially if you're letting your students see this, because some words might show up in kind of inappropriate posts as well. So do be really careful about it. Do a little bit of research before you start choosing your tag words and your hashtags. That's why I was kind of saying be really specific with your hashtags, especially if you have a classroom name and a number. Use that all, because that way you're really guaranteeing that the information is consolidated only to a very limited set. And you're not exposing your students to things that you don't necessarily want them to be exposed to. Hope this is useful for you. As always, today we are looking at using hashtags, aggregating them with Tagboard, and using that as a way to connect both with your students and to build a personal learning network. Today I've decided to add something a little new to these videos, and that is homework assignment. As we all know, having homework for your students really reinforces what we're learning, and I figured this is a great way to make sure that you're learning and actually taking action on the things that you're watching, so that you're really trying these things out and seeing if they work for you. So for today, I've set up a couple assignments. Your first assignment is to simply create an account at tagboard.com. Remember, all you have to do is be logged into Facebook or Instagram or Twitter. Pretty straightforward. The second one is to create 2 personal tag boards. So remember, I went back and I showed you it could be whatever tags are interesting for you. Maybe it's history, maybe it's math, maybe it's physical education, whatever it is. Go ahead and create 2 tag boards that'll collect information for you. And the final one is just kind of a bonus. I'd like for you to follow me on Facebook or Twitter. You don't have to do both of them, just whatever you are normally at. So if you're on Twitter, at EdTech Principal. If you're on YouTube, youtube.com/user/EdTech Principal. And if you're on Facebook, facebook.com/EdTech.tv. I'd love it if you'd follow me anywhere that you are normally using the internet, and so that we can make the most out of this and really make sure that you're getting all the information that I'm putting out. Thanks so much, you guys. I'm really looking forward to seeing what you do with this and hearing from you. Go ahead and leave comments at EdTech.tv, and I will be sure to respond to them. Best, and I will see you soon.